Our forces have done it again. They have negated a threat, thwarted the enemy, and this time around caught another Kasab-like terrorist alive. This time around, it's a 19-year-old from Okara in the Pak, Punjab, who was promised 30,000 rupees if he returned, was given 20,000 rupees, trained for 3 weeks in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa at a terror training camp in 2019, went through a refresher course in 2021, and was part of a group who were facilitated by the Pak army into India from the Jabri post on the other side of the LOC. And they tried to use the same route that was used by the terrorists 5 years ago as they came in and attacked the URI camp. But this time around, Operation Balwan ensured that it was they who suffered. The Pakistanis have been caught red-handed. But on the same day that this announcement was made by the forces here on Indian soil that they have captured a Pakistani terrorist alive and he spilled it all out, also comes the details of the US congressional report, ladies and gentlemen. And this report further nails Pakistan. Pakistan is the home to at least 12 designated terrorist organizations. 15 organizations have been listed, 12 of them designated. There are 5 categories of terrorists: globally oriented, Afghanistan oriented, and India and Jammu and Kashmir oriented, although they tend to overlap, but they've been broken down. They're also domestically oriented and sectarian. That means they are against Shia, anti-Shia, like the Lashkar-e-Jhangvi. Now, Pakistan, a safe haven for regionally focused terror groups, is what this report says. Pakistan allowed anti-Afghanistan, anti-India groups to operate from its soil. And Pakistan yet to take action against India and Afghanistan focused groups, says this report. And it also says the progress of counter-terror plan remains unfulfilled. This is a US Congressional Research Service. The pledge to dismantle terror origins remain unfulfilled. Very, very strong observations. This report has been prepared at the behest and for the US Congress and public consumption only. This is what is the collective opinion, that Pakistan is a terror haven. It is not cracking down on terrorists. So is it not time that after Pakistan's lies are nailed, from URI to the US report, Pakistan's terror plans stand nailed? And what the first secretary to the UN from India said, that this is the arsonist, not the firefighter, an arsonist posing as a firefighter. Does that not stand true? And is it not time for greater sanctions and a strong clamp down? Let's go across to our guest, Lieutenant General KJ Singh, former General Officer Commanding-in-Chief of the Western Command, with us. Colonel Lawrence Sellen, who's a retired US Army officer, is with us this evening. And Danish Manzoor, Editorial Director, Asia of the International Business Times, is also with us, IBT. Good evening, gentlemen. General KJ Singh, isse bada proof kya chahiye? We've got a terrorist live. We've caught hold of their ammunition, and the US congressional report nails Pakistan.
See, Anand, there is no proof, report, repeated reports. All these are there. And the danger is we categorize these groups into what is targeting globally, what is targeting Afghanistan, and that sets the stage for good terrorists, bad terrorists, not so bad terrorists. Actually, security forces will get them. Don't worry, we are prepared for it. But the problem is that ecosystem has to be dismantled. And see, like recently, a list of top terrorists operating in J&K was given out. And in that list, there is an interesting character called as Abbas Sheikh. Now, Abbas Sheikh incidentally initially started with Hizbul. Then he went to LET. And now he is with TRF.
Yeah.
So like these groups have a habit of morphing. Now this listing doesn't include TRF. Currently, what has happened is the Resistance Front is a new name, which is a new clone of Lashkar. And then there are groups like Al-Badr, Al-Furqan, and they keep morphing. Like LET's got another name, Jamaat ul Dawa, which does these charity and these kind of activities.
They also have an
So,
Al-Falah trust,
so
a lot of them, yeah.
yeah, so what is required is to get at the ecosystem. We can't do this kind of. This report is damn good. I appreciate the report. Very good. It's timely. It's come right in time for Quad and all these kind of deliberations. But we need to get at the ecosystem. We have to. We can't be believing that this terrorist is good. This is oriented in this direction. Where is the guarantee he'll not change his direction?
Yeah, but this report, General Singh, also says that these groups also are interoperable. And it's not necessarily that the classification remains. It's a broad classification just for the understanding of those who would perhaps not understand how things are. Because they also say how the AQIS is directly, indirectly an offshoot of the original Al-Qaeda. And the same thing with the Daesh or the IS Khorasan. And somewhere it's inspired, although they also say that perhaps in detail that there is a certain level of interoperability. But my larger question is, Colonel Selen, now that America has pulled out of Afghanistan, they don't need Pakistan. Should they not move in fast, swifter and quicker?
No, absolutely. I think it was good that this report was done, but it was only 2 pages, and the content would not surprise anyone knowledgeable about South Asia. The question is whether any concrete action will be taken against Pakistan as the epicenter of terrorism in South Asia. I mean, for example, Pakistan should be blacklisted by the Financial Action Task Force, and the United States should be willing to join India in surgical strikes against terrorist bases in Pakistan when necessary. I don't know if this is going to happen. In the joint statement after the Quad meeting, Pakistan was not even mentioned, and Joe Biden is considered to be pro-China, pro-Pakistan. So I think we have to wait and see.
But what do you think should be the immediate step taken? Because this is the US Congress. So it is on both sides of the alley that there are people there. So should there not be cognizance that if you really are united in the fight against terrorism and extremism, then action has to be taken? Because this one nation can upset the cart for everyone, because you don't know who's going to tomorrow strike American soil or American embassies on foreign soil. It could be, they could also be operating
that's
here.
Absolutely true. And the Biden administration, the Pentagon has said that they're committed to over-horizon attacks against terrorist bases when necessary. So I think they should be joining India in this effort to eliminate these terrorist bases in Pakistan, which have been operating for years. And as you correctly point out, they are interoperable, and they probably be working together in the future.
And our forces have caught a Pakistani terrorist on Indian soil who spilled the beans. We've got evidence that he's come with 80 hand grenades, 7 AK-47 rifles, short-arm pistols made in China, and with so much more equipment, medicines, food, all with Pakistani label. And there is so much stuff that they have carted together that the army says that unless you have to be blind to not spot them. If the Pakistani army has allowed them passage and allowed them to infiltrate, clearly there is army collusion. Colonel Selen.
Yes, I think that's certainly true. I think for a long time it's been known that the Pakistani army, in particular the Pakistani intelligence agency, the ISI, has been working directly with terrorist groups, the Taliban, for example, and all the others that are present in Pakistan and have been attacking India, and in particular in Kashmir. So I think we need to take direct action in terms of sanctions or other methods to identify the Pakistani military in particular as a state sponsor of terrorism.
Danish Manzoor, First Secretary to the UN of India, Sneha Dubey, called Pakistan the arsonist posing as the firefighter. In this case, again, Pakistan cannot claim victim because it is their person, a Pakistani national trained by the Lashkar, who was carting and delivering arms, ammunition, fake Indian currency notes, Pakistani notes, and he said the delivery location was somewhere in Baramulla and Patan.
Thank you, Anand. Anand, I don't think to be very honest, we welcome this U.S. congressional report. I don't think India at least needs any other country in the world to tell us what Pakistan is. We see it first, and we have suffered it firsthand when we continue to do so. With today's arrest of Ali Babar, who apparently cried and begged at the time of his arrest, in the last 10 days, 7 terrorists who were trying to infiltrate the LOC have been killed by our security forces. So it is quite clear. We have seen what Pakistan is. We have seen what I is. Before I go there, let me just speak about something that General Singh mentioned. He mentioned about this TRF terrorist called Abbas Sheikh. General Singh would be happy to know that Abbas Sheikh was neutralized by our security forces, I think, a month ago. So that one is down. But yes, there is a problem of the ecosystem, which also involves the Pakistan's diaspora, which is spread across the globe, and they also feed into this narrative. So coming back to your question, this Pakistan and ISI have a habit of blaming everybody but itself. So they like to play victim whenever it pleases them. But look at it this way: Pakistan has a very well-established terror infrastructure with it. They have created a monster which for others, but it also ultimately ends up hurting them as well, off and on. And we have seen it. Pakistan now used to blame Indian agencies for all the violence that used to happen within its borders. But now India is no longer in Pakistan, in Afghanistan. So the violence in Pakistan still continues. What explains that? So, I mean, whatever Pakistan and the ISI to do, it's just funny that anyone can just poke holes in whatever they have to say, and they have been left, right and center. I think it's time now for the world to come together and recognize that this terror state has caused enough damage and has the potential to cause further damage across the region and across the globe as well. Hence, if we look at Iran's Revolutionary Guard, the US Department of State deemed them as a terrorist organization. What is stopping the Americans at this juncture, or all the top global world powers, to designate ISI as a terrorist organization? I think that is a major question that we have to handle.
True, I agree. Why should not? Why shouldn't the ISI be blacklisted too for this kind of nefarious activity? And the Pakistan state also deemed, and Pakistan deemed a terror state, General K.J. Singh. But more importantly, do you agree with Colonel Salim that at least the coordinations, if not, should work together to try and conduct punitive strikes on terror camps? There are 12 terror bases.
Anand, America has been looking for a base to operate its Predators and other aerial platforms from there. I would be bold enough to suggest that India should join in this venture, allow Americans to have a base. Americans used to have a base at Shamshi in Pakistan, also at Jacobabad. So we can give a base to them. We can give 1 or 2 bases that will also build protection for us, because there is this collusive threat between China and Pakistan.
Why don't we look at it in a better way, that we will operate it, we will do it, let them provide us with the ammunition. We have enough capability to be able to target them. I have to wind up. I'm running out of time, but we will take this forward in the days to come. There's more information coming through. General K.J. Singh, Danish Manzoor and Colonel Salim, thank you very much. Winding up the right stand on that note.